Hey everybody, and welcome back to the channel. How to survive work when you're ready to retire, but can't yet. Now, you know you're ready to retire when every day at work feels like the worst day of the week. And you know that feeling, right? You find yourself out there on the factory floor, somewhere on the job site, or sitting at your desk thinking, why am I still doing this? Now, I remember that phase of my life very well. Although I was very frustrated on the job, I was not angry. I was just simply done. And I knew that I was done. I had already checked out in my mind, but my paycheck said, you can't. At least not yet. Now, if that's you, I'd like to share a few thoughts with you that helped me survive that final stretch of employment. You know, that awkward in-between place where you can already visualize the finish line, but for whatever reason, you're still on the job and you can't leave just yet. So here's some of the things that helped me survive working when I was ready to retire. Number one, I had to realize that it's quite normal to feel frustrated in that final stretch of employment just before you retire. And here's why. For decades, my job choices, career path, and vocation had shaped virtually every aspect of my life, including my routine and even my sense of purpose. But eventually, all of that just ran its course, and I began to long for something more. No matter what your profession is, no matter how great your job is, or how much you have enjoyed it over the years, there comes a time in the lives of most of us when you simply outgrow it. You outgrow your career. I mean, you get tired. You get tired of the same old routine. You get tired of the meetings about meetings. You get tired of the new policies. And you get tired of people half your age telling you what to do, right? You get tired of pretending to care about things that no longer matter to you. If that describes you, that's not laziness. It's burnout. And it's a longing to be free. This is your inner man saying, it's time. It's time to pull the trigger and to move on with your life. Know why? You have simply outgrown your profession. Number two, I had to reframe my reason for working. Now, when I was younger, my reason for working was very clear. I needed some money to make a living. I was trying to start a family, and I was trying to move up the career ladder, if you will. But after decades of working and you get into that final stretch, all of those things are behind you, and that's not the reason that you're working anymore. So I had to reframe my reason for working in that final stretch. And I will tell you, this is what helped me the most. I stopped working for the man and I started working for myself. I told myself, I'm not stuck in this job. I am transitioning out of this job. And that final stretch for me was kind of like a bridge that bridged the gap between my working life and the new person that I was becoming. From that moment on, every paycheck that I earned was a stepping stone to the life that I wanted. I wasn't showing up for the boss anymore. I was showing up for my future self. I started saving as much money as possible. I started piling up my paychecks. I paid down my debts. I built a home, our forever home. And I did all of this while I was still working, and I did it for my future self over there. Everything that I did during that final stretch became a stepping stone to my future independence. And this was a small shift that really changed everything. It didn't make the work easier, but it did make the reason clearer. Number three, another thing that I did to survive that final stretch of employment was I set boundaries at work. Now, everybody needs boundaries in their lives, right? We need relationship boundaries, behavioral boundaries, financial boundaries, so forth and so on, and we need boundaries at work. And when I finally reached that final stretch, this is where I began to impose some boundaries at work to protect myself. I figured that after decades of loyal service, that I had done my part and had carried my share of the load. So it was now time for me to just let go of some things and lighten the load from off my shoulders. And you know what I did? I stopped volunteering for extra projects. That's right. I learned the power of saying no. I used all of my vacation days, my personal time. I protected my evenings and my weekends and my time off. I reclaimed my personal time, even while I was still working. And I also decided that it was time for some of the younger people and the younger workers to step up, and it was time for them to step up. It was time for them to step up, and it was time for me to stop carrying their load. I felt like I had finally earned the right to say no, and I did. And you know what? I didn't feel guilty about it either. I wasn't quitting, I was transitioning. I wasn't laying down on the job, I was protecting my emotional energy. And this was my pre-retirement glide path into my retirement life. Number 4, I tried to find small moments of joy within my work days. Even if your job feels like a dead end, it doesn't mean that your entire day has to be a bummer, right? So you know what I started doing? I started doing things that gave me little moments of joy throughout the day. For instance, I would take a walk during my lunch hour, which helped me clear my mind and decompress and detangle. I would listen to great music on the way to work or either on the way home. That was very uplifting. And sometimes people would look at me and I'd be rocking out in the car or whatever, really enjoying myself, and it was uplifting for me. I would go to the gym to meet new people and have some good workouts. And I could feel the stress and the tension just drain out of me as I was doing physical things. This was my way of reclaiming just a little bit of my happiness. In fact, I'm a fisherman. I've always enjoyed fishing, and I've always wanted to learn how to throw a cast net. So you know what I did? I started taking my cast net to work with me. And every time I got a break, or either during my lunch hour, I would go out back behind the building and find a place on the lawn to practice throwing my cast net. And I did this for a solid year. And I learned how to do it. And I mean, I can heave a 12-foot cast net like nobody's business. And it gave me a great sense of fulfillment to learn a new skill that was not related to work, but a new skill that was mine, a new skill that was for my future self. And what I'm trying to say is, you can't change the job, but you can control the space around it. And you can create small moments of joy inside of it. That is how you reclaim your spirit even before you leave full-time employment. And then finally, number 5, I visualized the next chapter of my life. Even though I was still working, and in my mind, I had already clocked out, I started visualizing the next chapter of my life. What was it going to be like to wake up in the mornings naturally, without being jolted awake by an alarm clock? And what was my life going to be like? No longer receiving any emails from work or texts on my private phone or late night phone calls because of some work-related emergency. For me, it was going to be just slow mornings, coffee, and calm. I had to keep that vision alive. In fact, I made up a list, not a bucket list, but something I called a freedom list. A list of things that I was going to finally be able to do when I finally had the freedom to pursue them. And that I would finally be living my life on my terms, not somebody else's, but mine. Now this list, this freedom list, if you will, became my fuel that helped me through the tough days at work. That final stretch of employment, those last few years of working, are probably the hardest of your entire career, because this is the time when you're letting go, but you can't go out the door yet. So hang in there. You're not just surviving work right now, you're outgrowing it. And you know what? That is something to be proud of. It means that you are growing as a person, and after you retire, you are going to continue to grow, and retirement life is going to be everything to you that you have imagined it to be. Your freedom is closer than you think. You're almost there. So hang in there. Well, that's all for now. If you've enjoyed the video, be sure to hit that thumbs up button that you'll find down below. Please like and subscribe. I would love to have you join and become a part of our online community here at Ronnie Christian, A Resilient Life. Having said that, I'm Ronnie. Take care, and we'll see you next time.